I sat at the kitchen table, absent-mindedly stirring my tea, when he hesitantly entered the room. His face was flushed, his hands stuffed into his pockets. I barely looked up, assuming he wanted something trivial. But when he finally spoke, his voice was strained with an uncharacteristic vulnerability. "Can I ask you something? Something personal?" I frowned, setting my cup down. "Of course. What is it?" He hesitated, shifting on his feet before finally blurting it out. "I need help. With my first time." The words hung in the air like a live wire, crackling with tension. I blinked, certain I had misheard. "I'm sorry. Your first time?" He swallowed hard and nodded. "Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to mess it up. And I figured you could give me some advice." A nervous chuckle escaped me, though my pulse quickened. "Oh, well. I mean, it's normal to be nervous, but that's something you'll figure out naturally when the time comes." He let out a frustrated sigh. "That's the thing. What if I do it wrong? What if I embarrass myself? I don't have anyone to talk to about this." I shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't something I had ever expected to discuss with him. He was my stepson, for God's sake. But there was something so earnest, so genuinely worried in his expression, that I couldn't just brush him off. "You're overthinking it," I said gently. "When you're with the right person, it'll come naturally." "But how do I know what the right person even wants? How do I make sure I don't ruin it?" His voice was filled with doubt, his desperation making it impossible to dismiss. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my tone casual. Women appreciate someone who listens, who takes their time. It's not about technique, it's about connection. He nodded, but didn't look satisfied. "I get that, but, I mean, shouldn't I at least have some idea of what to do?" I hesitated. This was dangerous territory. I should have shut it down, told him to figure it out on his own. But instead, I found myself considering his words, his sincerity. "You're asking for advice," I clarified, needing to set clear boundaries in my own mind. "Yes, just advice," he insisted, his gaze locked onto mine. I exhaled slowly, choosing my words carefully. "All right. If you want to make a woman feel comfortable, you start by making her feel safe. Pay attention to her reactions. Confidence is important, but so is patience." He nodded eagerly, absorbing every word. "And what about, physically?" A sharp pang of unease ran through me. I could feel the air between us shift, charged with something I refused to acknowledge. "That's not something I can teach you," I said firmly, pushing my chair back. "You'll learn when the time comes." His face fell slightly, but he nodded. "Okay, thanks for listening." I watched him walk away, my heart pounding for reasons I refused to name. I tried to push the conversation out of my mind, but it lingered, resurfacing at the most unexpected moments. I told myself it was just an innocent question, that he had no ulterior motives, but a nagging thought kept creeping in. Why had he asked me, of all people? Over the next few days, I noticed subtle changes in his behavior. He watched me more closely, his eyes lingering a little too long. His casual touches, brushing past me in the hallway, resting his hand on the back of my chair, felt intentional. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was reading too much into harmless gestures. But when I caught him staring one evening, his expression unreadable, I knew I wasn't imagining anything. That night, he brought it up again. "I've been thinking about what you said." I kept my tone even. "And you were right about confidence," he admitted. "But I still don't really know what to do. I don't want to make someone uncomfortable. I want to understand what women actually want." I sighed, placing my book down. "You're overcomplicating this. Attraction isn't something you can learn like a formula. It's about chemistry, intuition." He nodded, but didn't drop his gaze. "But what if I don't have that instinct? What if I never get it right?" I hesitated, feeling the weight of his vulnerability. He wasn't just looking for tips, he was looking for validation, for reassurance in a way that went beyond mere curiosity. "You will," I assured him. It's not about memorizing moves. It's about how you make someone feel. He exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. And how do I do that? The question caught me off guard. There was something about the way he asked, his voice lower, his eyes darker, that made my stomach tighten. I shouldn't have entertained it, shouldn't have let the moment stretch between us. But I did. You pay attention, I said quietly. You notice the small things, how someone reacts, how they breathe, how they look at you when they want more. His lips parted slightly, and I saw his throat bob as he swallowed. That sounds intimate. It is, I admitted. That's why it's important. He nodded, his gaze flickering over my face as if studying me. You make it sound effortless. I let out a soft, uneasy laugh. It's just experience. Exactly, he said, voice barely above a whisper. And I don't have any. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. He was too close, or maybe I was just too aware of him. I forced myself to look away, to break whatever was happening before it could go further. You'll figure it out, I said, standing up abruptly. You don't need me for that. He looked like he wanted to say more, but I didn't give him the chance. I walked away, ignoring the way my pulse hammered in my throat. I told myself I had shut it down. That night, I lay in bed, forcing my mind to focus on anything else. But my body betrayed me. My skin felt too warm, my breath too uneven. The memory of his voice, the way he had looked at me, replayed in a loop I couldn't silence. The days passed, but the tension didn't ease. It became something unspoken, yet ever-present, woven into every glance, every accidental touch. I avoided being alone with him, yet somehow, we kept finding ourselves in the same space. It wasn't deliberate. At least, I told myself it wasn't. One evening, after dinner, he lingered in the kitchen while I cleaned up. I could feel him watching me, his presence pressing against me like a weight. I should have left, should have sent him away. Instead, I stayed. I know I should drop this, he said finally. But I can't. I exhaled sharply, bracing myself. You need to. But I don't want to. His voice was calm, certain. I turned to face him, intending to put an end to this once and for all. But he was closer than I expected, his expression unreadable. For the first time, there was no hesitation in his gaze. You don't either, he said softly. My breath caught. The air between us was charged, thick with something I refused to name. I should have laughed, should have scolded him, should have walked away. But I did none of those things. You don't know what you're saying, I managed. I do, he countered. I know exactly what I'm saying. His hand lifted slightly, hesitated, then brushed against mine. A simple touch, barely there, yet it shattered every last defense I had left. I could have stepped back. I could have ended it. But instead, I stayed frozen, my heart pounding as his fingers traced the back of my hand. Tell me to stop, he whispered. I opened my mouth, but no words came. The moment stretched, taut and trembling. And then, just for a second, just long enough to ruin everything, I let myself give in. It was fleeting, a breath of contact, a press of warmth. But it was enough. Enough to send my stomach into freefall, enough to shatter whatever illusion of control I had clung to. I pulled back sharply, my breath ragged. This can't happen. He didn't argue, didn't push. He simply held my gaze, his expression unreadable. I know, he murmured, but there was no regret in his voice. I turned away, gripping the counter to steady myself. The room felt different now, the air heavier, charged with something irreversible. I had crossed a line, and I knew it. And worse, I wasn't sure I wanted to go back. I avoided him for days. It was the only option. If I pretended it hadn't happened, maybe it would lose its power, fade into something meaningless. But it didn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the ghost of that moment. His touch, his voice, the way my body had betrayed me. I kept myself busy, filled every second with tasks that didn't need doing, but no amount of distraction could erase the weight of his presence in the house. He was there, silent yet undeniable, lingering in doorways, watching me with an understanding that terrified me. Then my husband came home. His presence should have brought relief, should have grounded me back into reality. Instead, it only magnified my guilt. I watched him move through the house, oblivious to the invisible crack that had formed in our foundation. I kissed him. I smiled at him. I told him everything was fine. And yet, I felt like I was standing outside my own life, watching a version of myself I no longer recognized. I tried to pretend nothing had changed, but the weight of what I had done clung to me like a second skin. And the worst part? He noticed. Not my husband. My stepson. He caught me alone in the hallway one night, long after my husband had gone to bed. I turned to walk away, but his voice stopped me. Are we just going to pretend it didn't happen? I closed my eyes for a second, gathering the strength to lie. It didn't. It was a mistake. Then why are you avoiding me? I forced a sharp breath, keeping my tone steady. Because I don't want to make it worse. He stepped closer, careful, measured. You don't regret it. I swallowed hard, shaking my head. It doesn't matter how I feel. It does to me. His voice was quiet, but there was something resolute in it. I looked at him then, really looked at him, and for the first time, I saw the truth neither of us wanted to admit. It hadn't been a mistake, not in the way I wanted to believe. It had been a choice, a moment where I had known better and still let it happen. We can't do this, I whispered. I know, he said, but there was no apology in his voice, no regret, only understanding. A moment stretched between us, heavy with unspoken words, with everything that could never be. I turned and walked away, my hands trembling at my sides. I told myself it was over, that I had put an end to it, that I could go back to the life I had before. But deep down, I knew the truth. Some lines, once crossed, could never be erased.